in its most simple way of expressing, this moment is an experience to us. And if you've never done it, take a moment and just check and see what we call the world, what we call time, space, matter, energy, we perceive through our senses, which means that it's actually an experience to us. All we have this moment is an experience. Another way of saying the same thing, it's all sensations. That includes your body. If you've never checked that out, just to see, how do you know you have a body? You feel something, right? Isn't it? Your body is also sensations. Or another way of saying it is it's information that gets perceived and then often gets interpreted, yeah? But this moment is actually just simply sensations, information, yeah? Experience. And that experience is all we have. We don't have more. That's it. And a funny way to say it, this experience is as God as it gets. Doesn't get more God than this, yeah? This is it. Okay, we can wait for God, pray for God, but this is it. This is what we have, yeah? So then, there's a couple of things to notice. One is that this experience is appearing in you. You are aware of it, yeah? The experience of your body, the experience of the universe, of everything, is appearing in you, including the feeling sense that you have of yourself as an experience too. All your ideas, all your beliefs, all your positions, all your upsets, everything, yeah? All appearing in this moment in you. We have this idea that it's the body that experiences, but we can see if there's a dead body laying, it doesn't seem to experience much, yeah? So it's not the body that experiences, it's you. You experience the body, yeah? So in actuality, the body's, you're not in the body's in you. You're not in the world is in you. But the way our senses and mind functions, it seems the other way around, but it's a hallucination actually. And whatever you are, it's beyond the senses. You can't sense it. You can't see it. You can't sense it in any way. All you know is that you are and that everything's appearing in that, yeah? Are we on the same page? Everyone knows that? Any misunderstandings or disagreements? Okay. Important that we have the basic language, yeah? The third factor is what we call our attention. What is attention? Focus. Where and how we focused. Just like at this moment there's probably 100, 200 TV stations all broadcasting their signals here. We're not tuned yet to pick up those signals. Probably pretty soon we'll be able to swallow something and we'll be able to see TV without a set anymore, but I think it's being worked on. But But what shows up on the TV set is just which channel it's tuned to, right? What does what's showing on the TV mean about the TV? If it's a lousy program, does it mean anything about the TV? No. Just means which channel it's on, yeah? What does our experience mean about us? Actually nothing, yeah? It just means where we focused, yeah? Where and how we focused. Can everyone see that? Either you're all brilliant or I explained it so clearly nobody can. Okay. So, you're brilliant. Okay, good. So, how important is attention? We know that a child that gets food and shelter but no attention doesn't develop normally. Doesn't actually. We need attention. The worst punishment known to man is solitary confinement, no attention, yeah? We need it. It's food, actually. As important as food, yeah? Then the question is, what quality of attention? Because we know a certain quality of attention within a family dynamic is enough to make somebody physically sick, somebody have a really poor sense of themselves, to feel suicidal even, yeah? Just from a habit of attention within a family dynamic. Now the question is, how many of us come from really functional families? Anybody here? Okay. So you can... Okay. So we're all in the same boat, yeah? We've all come from families that did their best, but they were carrying trauma, they were carrying confusion, they were, there was a bunch of ignorance and arrogance and all the good stuff. And we watched very closely. And somehow we all survived that. So, in all of us, there's a bunch of automatic, unconscious habits of surviving that play. Anybody not have any of those? Yeah, we're all in the same boat, yeah? And it's weird, because it plays the same in all of us. You so often hear someone talking about my problem, my pain, my this, my that, but actually it doesn't belong to any of us. Just like I asked, what does your experience mean about you? Basically, zip. But as soon as we think it means something about us, our whole intelligence organizes to try and change it, fix it, control it, get rid of it. And then we have the salad, yeah? Yeah. That's from Meike, yeah? German contribution to satsang. Usually, I mean, it happens for a number of reasons. One, it happens because there's so much suffering and we want to come out of the suffering. Or somehow there's a moment where we have a peak experience or samadhi or whatever you want to call it, and we suddenly realize, wait a second, there is so much more. How come I'm hanging out suffering when there's a possibility to meet this moment as the beloved? So we're going to be just noticing gently our habits, how they play. Our habit of attention is also the interface. It actually is how we invite others to meet us. If you're looking around at the world, through a dualistic focus that's afraid and that's it doesn't even know it's looking through that focus. Everywhere you go, people are going to respond to that, isn't it? Another way of speaking about the same thing, but from a slightly different angle, is when we're born, our nervous systems are not complete. The nerves are not even myelinated. A baby doesn't have the capacity to focus. If you look in a young baby's eyes, their eyes are just holes that you can look right into, yeah? Isn't it? And slowly they learn to focus. And slowly they learn to focus in a subject-object way. So that's learned, you can say. If our parents had a dualistic focus, when I say if, I say because our parents had a dualistic focus, most of them did, they saw us as objects. What are the ramifications of that? If we were seen as an object, means they didn't feel us from inside out. They were trying to respond to our signals, and the only signal we had was to cry, as best as they could. But to a baby, when the person that's taking care of you doesn't understand the only signal you have, it feels like you're going to die. And a baby does not have the capacity to self-soothe. It doesn't have the capacity to soothe itself. So whenever a baby's left to cry, for whatever reason, it experiences that it's going to die. And it actually goes into a survival mode of collapse and disassociation just to survive that trauma. So one way of saying it is our nervous systems are looking to get information from another nervous system that has it, because if your nervous system doesn't have it, it can't give it. If your parents never had it, chances are you don't have it. But the beauty is that we can get it. And if that's opened up in you, then when you come into contact with anyone, that information becomes available. So this yearning for that information is super powerful. You can't jump over it. But so often it gets entangled with the idea of intimate relating, that's how you're going to get it. It gets entangled with sexuality. We try to get that information through sexuality. But what's our history in intimate relating? If you're together with someone that doesn't have the information and you're trying to get that information, and they're trying to get it from you, how does it normally play? Good luck, yeah? Okay. Doesn't really work. And on top of it, we taught that wanting is the root cause of suffering. So there's this yearning to get this information, which often is suppressed or jumped over because we try and try and try and get it, and it never happens, and so it starts to feel pretty desperate after a while. And one of the things about trying to get this information, it's trying to get a, if you look at it at its simplest, it's really trying to get seen, felt, appreciated, loved just for being what it is already, yeah? That's what it's looking for. So it tries to get it, but whenever it tries to get it, usually it tries in a clumsy way. I call it a clumsy reach. It's a reach to get connection that is clumsy, yeah? We all know the clumsy reaches that our systems make. Yeah. But what often happens is when there's a clumsy reach, when somebody's coming to you to get connection with you, often it's perceived as if it's a hole that you can never meet, you can never fulfill that, yeah? So the way we respond to it is by rejection. Can you guys find both sides of that in yourselves? Yeah. So what happens is we end up with a bunch of very confused signals. I want to connect, don't come too close. When you get 7 billion of us walking around like that, it's a bit of a mess, and it gets in the way of our chances of surviving, yeah? Okay. Can we? Okay. Why we do it? Why the yearning is there? Okay.
Well, the
So
yearning, I think I understand because of, childhood.
childhood. Look,
Say baby and all that.
if you look at it just.
Oh no, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. How many of us in this room were conceived, and the first thought that when we were our parents discovered that conception had happened was, oh shit, we didn't want that. This is a problem. We were just trying to have a bit of fun, and
No, I do
yeah.
get all that.
So that's a lot of us already, yeah? And then, if any of you have ever tried intimate relating, you know how easy it is, of course, yeah? It's simple. You see it on all the Hollywood movies. It's natural and easy, yeah. But so our parents,
I'm
yeah.
still with, when
Yeah.
you're the baby and parents see you as the object.
Even before then, even before that, in the womb,
Yeah.
while you were in the womb, how your mom was relating to her life was already influencing your cells, because it was your cells were just in sync with hers, yeah? And if she wasn't happy with herself, she didn't get along fabulously with your dad, there was something going on in the world, she was afraid, she had a poor self-image, all lands in your nervous system, yeah? Way before you're born. And we know that this actually goes back a few generations. So we're carrying information from our ancestry. Then birth happens. Now suddenly you're a parent. How much education did you have about being a parent? Maybe if you were lucky you read a book or two, but who were the experts that told you, that wrote the book, yeah? And suddenly you're a parent. And on top of that, trying to deal with a partner who... And survive and all the rest of it. Okay, great. So you can see what we're dealing with, yeah? So if our parents saw us as an object, there would be a few things that would happen. One is, if they never received information about healthy boundaries, they wouldn't have been able to understand our signals when they were crossing our boundaries. That would be one thing. The other, they wouldn't be able to understand our signals all the time. A lot of them had ideas that it was good to let babies cry so that you get them onto a schedule, and, yeah? Yeah. So it leaves the sense of, in so many people, of not belonging anywhere, that there's something deeply wrong at the core of us, with us. That we're not truly valued and seen and loved. No matter how much someone tells us they love us, something goes, can't be true. How many of you know that in yourselves? Okay, if you're not raising your hand, you probably didn't understand the question. Okay. So we hear. Whilst we hear, is it possible to gently include all these expressions of totality in your awareness, just with gentle attention? Exploring and finding, what is the most sweet attention we can give? Just that attention of, I say seeing and feeling, yeah? I want to break that down a little bit too, because when I say I can see you, in my languaging, the way I use language, what I'm saying is there's awareness, aware of awareness. I'm aware that there's awareness there. That's what I call seeing. When I'm talking about feeling you, at best, if my mind is absolutely quiet, all I can feel is the organization of your nervous system and the signals that your nervous system are giving off in the moment. Is that actually you? Not at all. But how does it feel when somebody can sense the signals that your system are giving, even though you might not even be aware of them? How does it feel when you're with somebody that's just tracking you, that's they feeling what's going on in you, your signals, they're not jumping over your signals, they're in tune with them, yeah? Someone feels like they're really with you, yeah? How's that feel? Yeah, relaxing, yeah? Coming home, yeah? Yeah, beautiful. Safe. Safe. Say again? Like really meeting, yeah? Okay. It's delicious, yeah. Yeah. It's food. It really is food. At a cellular level, our cells do not know the difference between energy and food. Yeah, beautiful. It's actually true what I'm saying. At a cellular level, our cells do not know the difference between food and energy. So when we're just resting here, see, when our system is trying to get what it needs and trying to avoid getting rejected, what quality of attention do we give? How would you describe that? Because we all know it from the inside. Contracted. Tension, yeah. So our contribution then to the field that we co-generate and co-inhabit is tension. Do we mean anything bad by it? Absolutely not. It's unconscious, yeah? It's automatic and it's unconscious. And it's going to continue until it gets what it needs. It's not something you can decide, I'm not going to do that. Could we pass the mic that way, please?
At work, I noticed this. I work in a library. People come in, and sometimes if I'm quieter, I can just see so clearly. And still, I often don't give this attention that I see they want. And I find it difficult. How can you meet this without...
So can you just stop for a second? It's a great question. I know Rebecca for years, so I'm using her name. As Rebecca's speaking, one way of listening is like Rebecca's over there, she's an object, and you're listening to her out there. And you're an object over here. There's another possibility that you recognize that hearing, where does hearing happen in you? Does it happen inside or outside? Inside, okay. Where does seeing happen in you? Inside, yeah? Inside of what? We can say awareness actually because it's not inside the body even, yeah? It's happening in awareness. So as just playing, as speaking is happening now, in this case it's this voice that's speaking, can you just sense that it's appearing in you? However, just playing with that invitation as a possibility, yeah? So one thing is looking there, the other is, oh, wow, you're actually appearing in me, in this. Very different habits of perceiving. One way that can facilitate playing with it is because our eyes are so powerful. If you have eyes, you know, they say it's like 80% of the information comes through the eyes. And our eyes are attuned to focusing on objects because language turns everything into objects. But in actuality, everything is an experience to us. Babies have to learn that. So you can play with just imagining that your eyes are holes and the light just comes in by itself. You don't even have to focus to see. The light just comes in. It's quite relaxing if you can find it. Just play with it. Can't do it wrong, make mistakes, but explore. And if you get that sense that the light is just coming in and it's all appearing in you, it's quite amazing the difference that it makes. You see, the moment our habit of attention goes into subject-object, in a way it's a form of violence. Can you guys see that, or is that too much of a stretch so early in the evening? Curious how many people can see what I'm talking about? Because it projects separation, it projects fear immediately, yeah? Isn't it? Yeah. We would like to put an end to war, but, wow. Moment by moment we're meeting each other in a way that's continuing the game, yeah? And we don't see it. It's okay. Yeah. So as we become conscious of it, that's the first time that something can integrate or change, yeah? If it remains unconscious, when will it change? Actually never, yeah? So one of the things that we play with in the course of this week is the difference between inquiry and an agenda. When we hear and something comes up, if we have an idea of what's supposed to happen, again, that's violence, yeah? Internal violence. If there's an inquiry, oh, something's going on that I can see has troubled not only me, but generations. And I'm really curious to bring it to consciousness. What is it? There's just a curiosity, you could say. No idea of what it's supposed to look like if it integrates. To me, I call it the difference between hard noticing, which is an agenda, having an idea of how it's supposed to be, and gentle noticing, yeah? Just, oh, what is this? Checking, looking, inquiring. So feeling the field now, people have had a little chance to get a sense of what's happening. When I'm talking about the field, I'm talking about the collective of all of our attention, the energy of all of our attention. Is it the same as at the beginning of the evening, or is it a little different? Softer, calmer, more inclusive, sleepier, yeah. Which is actually, as soon as the nervous system calms down, it goes from the highly activated state, getting here. Some people had to drive through traffic, some people took planes, trains, all different kinds of things. When that calms down and our parasympathetic kicks in, then it gets calm, and a lot of times sleepiness. And great, no problem. healthy. Is this field all the way quiet and humming along in ecstasy yet? We may have a few moments of ecstasy this week, who knows? We might even disappear in rainbow bodies, who knows? Anything's possible. Let's see what wants to happen. Our existence wants to play with us. Yeah?